Good morning, kiddos. Today we are going to be talking about 3.1b, and we have a bunch of definitions to go ahead and get through. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first definition says that a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at a time. Okay, this is called a transversal. We're going to draw a picture for that too. Now, a transversal line, okay, so if we have two parallel lines here, and we have a line cutting through them at the same angle. This line that cuts through both the parallel lines at the same angle, that is our transversal line. I'm just going to name these with some lowercase letters. And we're going to name the transversal, that's a little L, and the transversal will just be line L. Our next definition says two angles around the transversal on different intersections that are the same side of the transversal in positions. Okay, so these are corresponding angles. Okay, corresponding angles are on corresponding positions on the transversal line. Again, I'm going to draw a picture so we know what we're talking about. So again, I'm going to draw two parallel lines with a transversal cutting through it. And corresponding angles would be in this intersection where the transversal cuts through the top line. If we look at the top left angle, so I'll just put a star here, and then the top left angle in this bottom intersection, so here. Those two are corresponding angles because they both are the top left in their intersection. Okay, it also works for the top right, the bottom right, and the bottom left, all with their own little symbol here. Okay, name all the pairs. So if instead of using shapes, I used numbers, so we're going to redraw that. And this time, instead of using shapes, I'm going to use numbers. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so again, let's look at the top left and top left. So in this intersection, our top left would be angle 1, and that is corresponding with the top left in this bottom intersection, which is angle 5. Another one here, if we do top right, we have angle 2. Looking at our bottom intersection, top right would be angle 6. Okay, another one, if we do bottom right, would be angle 4 and angle 8. And the last one, bottom left, would be angle 3 and angle 7. Okay, so we're looking at top left in both intersections, top right in both intersections, bottom right in both intersections, and finally bottom left in both intersections. Okay, since they hit at the same spot, they are in corresponding positions, so these are corresponding angles. Our next definition is alternate interior angles. And these are two angles around the transversal on different intersections that are on opposite sides of the transversal and inside the two lines. Okay, again, we're going to draw a picture. So again, two parallel lines, the transversal cutting through here. Okay, and so alternate interior angles are going to be inside the parallel line. So we're only looking at these 4 angles, and then they are on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so here and here. I put 2 little hearts, or here, or here. Those are little stars. So on the inside of the parallel lines on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, I'm going to draw this again, but this time with numbers so that we can go ahead and name the angles. So we have our 2 parallel lines and our transversal cutting through it. And I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so since we are talking about interior and opposite sides of the transversal, we can't talk about 1, 2, 7, or 8 because those are outside. Those are on the exterior of our two parallel lines. So we're only looking at angles 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so if we just start with angle 3, okay, so angle 3 is on the inside. We want another angle on the inside that is on the opposite side of the transversal. So 3 is on the left side, so we will look at number 6. So angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles. And the other pair here is if we look at angle 4, it is on the right side on the interior, and on the left side in the interior is angle 5. Okay? Again, we can't use the other angles 1, 2, 7, or 8 because they are on the exterior. Speaking of exterior, that is our next definition. We have alternate exterior angles. Two angles around the transversal on different intersections. So one will be on the top intersection, one will be on the bottom intersection, that are on opposite sides again of the transversal, and this time it's going to be on the outside of the two lines. Okay, so again, let's draw our picture with our symbols, and then we'll redraw our picture with our numbers so that we can name them. Okay, so we have our two parallel lines and our transversal. The transversal can also lean to the left. I just always go to that default. Okay, so on the exterior, which means it has to be on the outside of the parallel lines. Okay, so either above the parallel lines or below the parallel lines, but not inside the two. And then again on the opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so if this heart is going to be above outside the parallel lines, then we have to go below this parallel lines on the other intersection, and it has to be on the opposite side. So since the first heart was on the left side, the second heart will be on the right side. Okay, same thing with this angle over here. If I mark this with a little star, that is on the right side. It is above the parallel lines. We have to go below the parallel lines on the other outside, on the other intersection, and this time on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's redraw this with numbers so we can go ahead and name the pairs of alternate exterior angles. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so like on the last one, we couldn't use the numbers on the outside. This time we can't use the numbers on the inside. Okay, so we can't use 3, 4, 5, or 6. So let's just start with angle 1. Okay, so angle 1 is above on one intersection, so we have to look below on the other intersection on the outside of the parallel lines. And 1 is on the left side, so we have to look at the right side, which will give us angle 8. The other pair here, if we just look at angle 2, that is on the right side, and on the left side, outside the parallel lines, is angle 7. Okay, and angle 7 already goes to angle 2, and angle 8 already goes to angle 1. So we have graphed all of those. Awesome. Okay. Okay, this next one is consecutive interior. Consecutive interior angles are two angles around the transversal on different intersections that are on the same side of the transversal and inside the two lines. Okay, so let's draw it with symbols and then we'll draw it with numbers. Okay, so we want to look inside the parallel lines. Okay, so we're only going to be looking at these 4 again. But this time they are on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so we could do left side and right side and right side. Okay, so let's draw this again with numbers so that we can name these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 again. Okay, so again, we want to look on the inside and we want to look on the same side. So if we look inside the parallel lines, we can only use 3, 4, 5, and 6. Angles 3 and angle 5 are on the same side of the transversal. They are on the left side. And the other pair here would be angle 4 and angle 6, because again, they are both on the same side. They're on the right side. Okay, let's flip it over. Now we just want to do some examples. We're all done with definitions, so we're going to look at this and name all of these types of angles. Okay, so the first one is corresponding. Remember that corresponding angles happen at the same part, the corresponding positions in two different angles. So top left and top left. Okay, these look a little different than what we were already talking about, because I had my parallel lines flat, whereas they do not. So we are going to go ahead and look at them like this again, okay? Just know that it's from my drawing to vertical now, okay? So corresponding, we're gonna look at the same part of each intersection. So if we look at this intersection on the left-hand side, we can see that angle 1 is on the top left. On this second intersection, angle 5 is on the top left. Since they are both in top left, they are corresponding. So I can say angle 1 and angle 5. Okay, we'll do top right. In the first intersection, top right is angle 2. In the second intersection, top right is angle 6. So angle 2 and angle 6. Next, we have, let's do bottom left, which is angle 3. And bottom left, we have angle 7 in the other intersection. And finally, bottom right, we have angle 4. And bottom right in the second intersection, we have angle 8. So these are all of the corresponding pairs. Next, we have alternate interior, which remember is on the inside of the lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So let's start with angle 2, because that is on the inside of both of these lines. So angle 2 is above this transversal, so we want something below the transversal on the other intersection and on the inside of the parallel lines, which would be angle 7. The other pair, so we already did angle 2, so let's go to angle 4, which is on the inside and below the transversal. So on the other intersection, we want something above the transversal and on the inside of the line, which would be angle 5. Okay, alternate exterior. We want to go outside the outside of the lines, so we'll do angle 1 first, which is above the transversal. So we want something on underneath the transversal and on the outside in the other intersection, which would be angle 8 in this case. The other pair, since we already used angle 1, we have angle 3, which is below the transversal. So we want on the other intersection, we want outside the two lines and above the transversal, which would give us angle 6. Okay, and then consecutive interior, remember those have to be on the inside of the two lines and then on the same side of the transversal, okay? So we can only use angles 2, 4, 5, and 7. So we'll start with angle 2. Angle 2 is above the transversal, so on the other intersection we want one that is above the transversal and on the inside of the line, which would be angle 5. And then the other one, we have angle 4 here. That's the other interior angle on this first intersection. So we have angle 4 that is below the transversal. So on the other intersection, we want inside and below, which will give us angle 7. Okay. Next, we're just going to classify these types of angles based on one of these 4 definitions. So this first one, we have angle 1 and angle 5. They are both on the top left They're both in top left position. So these would be corresponding angles. And fine if you just abbreviate it, it's corresponding. You don't have to write the word angles. Here we have two angles outside the two lines. So we want something that's exterior. And then they are on opposite sides or alternate sides of the transversal. So this is going to be alternate exterior. Okay. And then here we have two angles on the inside of the two lines. So we want an interior. And they are on opposite or alternate sides of the transversal. So this is going to be alternate interior. Okay, and we just have a few more examples here. All right, and let's go ahead and get done with these last four examples. So this one right here is saying to put an at, or name the transversal T. That is number one, name the transversal T. So our transversal is the one line going through the two lines, and I'm just going to name that with a lowercase t here. Okay, the next one is asking us to put an at sign on one pair of corresponding angles. Okay. There's a typo here that I put a line through this last year. So we're going to put an at sign on a pair of corresponding angles. Remember that corresponding are in corresponding positions. So like top left and top left. Okay, so I'm going to put an at sign in the top left of the first intersection and an at sign in the second intersection, in the top left position in the second intersection. Number 3 says to put a heart on one pair of alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are on the outside of the two lines and then on opposite sides of the transversal. Since we've already used this angle in the outside of the lines, we're going to use this one. So I'm putting a heart here. Okay, so it's outside. We want to pick an outside angle in this intersection, so either one of these two, and it has to be on an opposite side as the first heart. So since the first heart was on the right side, this one will be on the left side. Okay, the fourth says put a diamond on one pair of corresponding angles. Why did I correct that? Okay, so we'll put this the diamonds in the bottom right and bottom right. Okay, and then finally put a circle on one pair of alternate interior angles. So remember that alternate is on opposite sides of the transversal and interior means it's on the inside of the two lines. So I will put one in the last opening here. And so in the second intersection, we need something in between the two lines and then on the opposite side of the first circle. So since this was on the left side, we are going to draw a circle on the right side.